Welcome back to another scientist story time. Let's do this thing. If you were to ask somebody who invented the mechanical grain reaper, they would most likely say either nothing because they don't know, or they would say Cyrus McCormick. Cyrus McCormick is the one credited with the invention of the mechanical grain reaper, but there's somebody else who may not necessarily deserve the credit more than him, but definitely deserves a piece of that pie. His name, Joe Anderson. The invention of the mechanical grain reaper, which was used to cut wheat, basically kickstarted the American Industrial Revolution. Prior to its invention, farmers had to spend hours cutting wheat themselves, and most farmers were responsible for growing their own food, and since they could only grow as much as they could cut, they were limited in how much food they could grow. All of their family members often had to help out on the farm cutting wheat because they couldn't spare anybody else to do something else. They had to, grow the food to survive. And furthermore, they couldn't really make any money selling extra crops because, again, they were just trying to grow enough food to survive because they simply didn't have enough labor to grow any more food. Along came the mechanical grain reaper, which could clear 10 acres of wheat in one day with little to no effort, versus the 2 acres of wheat a farmer could clear in a whole day by himself. This meant that more wheat could be planted because more of it could be harvested. You needed less effort to harvest it, which means you only needed 1 or 2 people out of a family to harvest enough wheat to get them through the winter, so other people in the family could start pursuing different types of jobs, like working in banks or factories or offices. And also, you might actually have some crops left over that you don't need to get through the winter, so you could sell those and increase your profits. Thus, BAM helped out the American Industrial Revolution thanks to the mechanical grain reaper. And this invention was patented by Cyrus McCormick, and he claimed it took him only 6 weeks to build the first one. Whether or not that's true is actually, pretty much in question, because it turned out that Cyrus McCormick didn't come up with the mechanical grain reaper himself entirely. His dad, Robert McCormick, had actually been working on designs for a reaper, like the one Cyrus ended up patenting, for 20 years up until this point. So when Cyrus was like, hey, let me make that mechanical grain reaper, he had literally 20 years worth of foundational work to look at and figure out. And there is another person involved in this too. Again, his name Joe Anderson, a slave born on the McCormick plantation approximately the same time that Cyrus himself was born. So these two, in a sense, grew up together, but one as an enslaved man, one as a free man, the owner of the plantation, or son of the owner of the plantation. And while Cyrus McCormick knew how to read and write and build things, well, read and write and draw and, sketch a design, Joe Anderson knew a lot about wheat, knew a lot about cutting wheat because that's what he did as a slave, and also had blacksmith skills. So when Cyrus decided, hey, let me figure out that grain reaper, but wait, I don't know that much about cutting wheat, Joe Anderson stepped in, shared his knowledge about cutting wheat and his blacksmithing skills, and helped build and tinker the original prototypes for the mechanical reaper. So the end result reaper that ended up getting patented probably would not have been possible without the help of Joe Anderson, to kind of be a co-inventor with Cyrus McCormick. Unfortunately, Joe Anderson couldn't get a co-inventor patent on the grain reaper because he was a slave, so Cyrus McCormick gets all of the patent money, all of the riches, becomes enormously wealthy. Oh my gosh, is it the... The garbage truck is freaking back! Oh my freaking gosh. I tend to batch film my videos, and so if you are aware of the garbage truck interruption from last week's video, this is the same day, this is the same garbage truck. This is the 3rd time it has come to the street. My dude, I live in the back of the neighborhood. These garbage cans have already been emptied. Get out of here! Anyhow, Cyrus McCormick and the McCormick family became tremendously wealthy from the creation of the mechanical reaper, and Joe Anderson would never get those same riches. Luckily, I guess Cyrus had like 0.5% something of decency or appropriateness, and did end up buying Joe Anderson's freedom, so freed him as a slave, and bought him a house and continued to send some money and food and clothing throughout Joe's life, but Joe Anderson never like got above just, basic needs. So, we love that. The bare minimum, Cyrus, the bare minimum. However, in 1931, which was 100 years after the invention of the grain reaper, the McCormick Company, which has a different name, but I'm blanking on it right now. So, the company that was originally started by McCormick, it changed names a couple of times throughout the years, released a medallion celebrating 100 years of the grain reaper's invention, and on one side of that medallion featured an image of Joe Anderson. So eventually they decided to recognize him for his contributions. Seems about right. Learning these stories is so much fun, but then you just get so much rage at, like, the absolute injustice. Anyhow, that's the story of Joe Anderson, the man who helped to invent the grain reaper. Please like this video. Check out the rest of my channel. I love telling the stories of scientists and doing other random sciencey stuff. Tell all your friends about Joe Anderson. And when they ask, why do you keep bringing up all of these random scientists and inventors, point them back to me, the originator of sharing knowledge about random scientists and inventors. I hope you enjoyed. Just a little bit of a heads up, March is going to be Women's History Month, and I will be doing 31 Days of Women Scientists again. So, yay, get ready for even more obscure scientists they didn't talk about in school. Whoop whoop! My favorite topic. Anyhow, thank you all for watching for probably the 3rd time, and as always, keep it sciencey! They'd probably say Cyrus McCormick if they're still teaching that in the grade schools nowadays. And well, he doesn't. La 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 la. Come to me. Hope you enjoyed this today. La, 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 la. Do it. You deserve some props, man. Thank you for helping out with that grain reaper. I like eating food. Words are hard. Anyhow, the grain reaper, Joe Anderson. Yes.